Hey, what's going on, gang? Welcome on back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. As always, mate, I do hope you are doing well, friend. I really do hope that. And welcome back to Chelsea News, Tuesday the 10th of February. We are playing some Premier League football tonight, which hopefully I will react to immediately afterwards. We'll see how things get on. But this is a Chelsea News video, the daily series, of course, Chelsea News here on the channel, where I reflect on what's been said about Chelsea, giving you my thoughts, feelings, and opinions on it. But as always, more importantly, asking for yours. Today, The Guardian wrote about Liam Rosenior. Of course, he's come out and said some interesting stuff about the social media backlash. Chelsea's high performance, David Brent, PE teacher, all the memes, Will from In-Betweeners. He laughs it off. He does speak about it a little bit. It's a little bit more insight to his character, which I found quite interesting. Yes, of course, you may have seen in the world of transfers, Julian Alvarez is being circulated and spoken about, and Chelsea's name, the club, have been affiliated with him. That seemingly won't go away, despite him wanting to go to Barcelona, which is not overly surprising as a Spanish-speaking, currently La Liga playing forward. But I suppose he could succeed Lewandowski, I suppose. But we'll speak about that. Chelsea have been in contact with him, and he'll cost a lot of money, so we will speak about that. Also, it's joking about high performance. Ex-Chelsea manager Mauricio Pochettino recently went on there and spoke about his time at Chelsea. It's some very interesting stuff. Chelsea wanted to sell Marc Cucurella, which might make you all go, oh, he's the best left-back in the Premier League. But of course, we remember, he was not a popular boy for a long time, and we were going to loan him to Man United, and there was a time where a lot of Chelsea fans were not totally opposed to that. So it's going to be juicy. As always, thank you so much for joining me here on Football Therapy. If you do want to give us a hand, help a brother out, then you can like and subscribe on YouTube. Click of a finger, tap of a thumb, depending on how you're watching. And if you do like the content and you do subscribe, you should hit that sweet, sweet bell, baby. Ooh. Cheeky little one for you there. Also, of course, available on all podcast platforms when searching Football Therapy Podcast. And you can 5-star me on said platforms and follow. Right! Let's start off with this. Oh, he looks miserable. This is The Guardian. Chelsea's Liam Rosenior admits online mockery is affecting his family. We don't want to hear that. Let's see what's going on. Liam Rosenior... Okay, so hold on. I have been criticised on both Instagram and YouTube for Rosenior. It's not Rosenior. Rosenior? Liam Rosenior. If I just sort of, skid through it quickly. Rosenior. Yeah. Liam Rosenior has opened up about the ridicule directed at him since he's become Chelsea's head coach, saying he expected the backlash and revealing it has affected his family. Speaking with all honesty and positivity, the 41-year-old was keen to stress that he will not allow the discussion around his personality, looks, and coaching background to stop him from doing his job. Rosenior has said previously that he knows a lot of people in this country have been laughing at me since his appointment at Enzo Maresca's replacement last month. He also said this in his presentation, his first presser, when he was like, look, I was a joke at Strasbourg. I was going to fail, and we did really, really well. So he's got a reason to be confident in terms of he's been through ridicule before. But of course, Chelsea's a huge step up from Strasbourg, right? It does not seem to matter to Rosenior, as he's opened with 7 wins from 9 games and taken Chelsea into the last 16 of the Champions League. He's been dubbed LinkedIn Liam because of some of his quotes comparing to David Brent, of course, and his mannerisms. We've all seen that, guys, haven't we? After miscontrolling a touch in the defeat against Arsenal. The reaction towards the former Strasbourg manager has been intense. Has it been intense? I mean, I don't think it's changed. I think they've always... People who sort of... Some of it's just light-hearted banter. It's not like with vitriol or whatever. And even if there is some unsavoury opinions towards him, I don't think much of it's changed, because I think he's done pretty well. I mean, he's inarguably done quite well, right? We got some quotes here. The reason why I know about this is because I've got teenage children, he said before the Leeds game in the later... I guess this is the embargoed press. They're on social media. It affects them. It affects my parents. It affects my family. But I knew what I was walking to into this job, and it was going to happen. It's normal. When you're prepared for it, it makes you smile. I'm a confident person, and if you're affected by things like that, you shouldn't be in the job. Yeah, real talk, man. And I mean, obviously not the same as being Chelsea manager, but I can say to a similar degree, it's the same as me being a YouTuber. Like, I don't think I'm like an overly disagreeable or aggressive guy. I don't come out with like sensational sweeping statements that maybe some content creators do. I get hate. Just if you're, succeeding in any walk of life, people will just have a negativity bias and want to see you suffer. Like, it just doesn't, it's just, and usually it's because people themselves are suffering and they externalize it. And I sort of accept that. I'm quite Zen Buddhist about it all. But, it's just there, sadly, in life. And it definitely comes with the management, Chelsea management as well. There's no way you can do this job, he said, if you're negatively affected by it. I quite enjoy it, to be honest. I mean, I didn't help myself with the first touch against Arsenal, which he laughed off, which was quite fun. But that comes with the territory. I'm enjoying the job, and I know in time, people will start judging me on what they see on the pitch, which is the most important thing. And I think everyone altogether will agree that is the most important thing. What do you do what can you achieve on the football pitch? So asked why he expected it, he said, maybe it's because of my background and my coaching and being at the club size that I was at is different. It's different. I'm not a massive name. I'm from a different type of club and have a different type of character. Rosenior had roles, of course, at Derby and Hull before going to Strasbourg. He considered suggestions that the Mockery feels different. If that feels different, I don't know if you're trying to lead me to say anything, he said. It doesn't affect me. I've been prepared to do this job for years, for decades. I knew what it would come with, and it actually doesn't affect me at all because I know the focus is on doing the job and I'm enjoying it. I love this job. I am enjoying it. I'm not afraid to be myself. If I wear glasses, if I sound a little bit over the top when I speak or articulate myself in a certain way, if I don't look like a manager, it doesn't bother me at all. Sort of saying, look, if I'm not this, I don't know, character that you expect, it doesn't bother me. I'm going to be myself and I'm going to win, basically. He's got that kind of... I'm really rooting for him. I've been saying this for so long. Look, ultimately, results are king. I just want Chelsea to win games and trophies, and if he can't deliver that, off you go, mate. But I am rooting for him as a guy, as a person. I'd like to see him succeed, and I'd like him to represent my football club as a person, but he has to be a winner. It was put to Rosenior that it seems weird for there to be such a negative response to an English manager showing such promise in a big job. And this is true, by the way. I listen to a lot of podcasts I like. I was listening to the Football Ramble, which is a great podcast I like. And they were just taking the mick out of them. And I swear before they've criticised how English managers, aren't doing well enough and not getting enough backing. And then they just jump on the bandwagon. Sometimes, some of it, I feel a bit uncomfortable as well. Like, it makes me feel even a bit more uncomfortable when it comes to him. Look, he says funny stuff. You're allowed to laugh at it. I laugh at it. Do you know what I mean? But I think personally as an Englishman, there should be a degree of support there. He says, look, I agree with what you're saying, and I'll leave it at that. So he didn't obviously mix that up. Asked whether he put down to British culture, he says, I'm not going to go into that. People make their own judgments on people before they meet them. That's part of life. Hopefully he won't have to keep talking about stuff like this because he is still fresh. So he's probably entertaining this discussion and this kind of criticism and light sort of, dare I even say sort of bullying, do you know what I mean? And he's sort of shrugging it off and laughing because he is new and it is Chelsea Football Club. But, this will have to stop eventually. At some point, a few months down the line, it'll be like, oh yeah, Liam Rosenior, he manages Chelsea. They're doing all right. Joao Pedro scoring a bunch of goals under him. The players seem to like him. The fans are singing Liam's name and seems to be going all right. Eventually, they'll start, there might be this continuation of a sort of every now and again, a David Brentism. In the same way, it never really left Brendan Rodgers, when he was doing well at Liverpool and even Leicester or whatever, it sort of hung around, but it won't be a sort of prevailing story and narrative about Liam. Eventually they'll just see him as, the Chelsea manager, and not this guy who's just touched down from Strasbourg. He's a company man. He says some silly stuff, and he's got no first touch. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? That will go eventually. Fingers crossed. All right, then. We're going to talk about... I'm not going to screen share for these, but we're going to talk about Julian Alvarez. We'll save that for in a moment. But I do want to speak about Speaking of high performance and Chelsea managers, of course, Pochettino did go on and speak about his time at Chelsea. I'm going to be reading this from the ChelseaChronicle.com, Jack Drury. A little bit on Marc Cucurella. Let's see what's going on. Despite him only leaving Chelsea in 2024, the landscape of the club looks different, completely different from when Pochettino was in charge. The Argentine spent a season at the helm of Stamford Bridge, leading us to 2 cup finals. Did he? I don't remember that. I mean, I guess it's the Liverpool finals. And finishing 6th. He did all right. I didn't really identify with Pochettino's Chelsea purely because we conceded a record amount of goals, which for me was very un-Chelsea. Pochettino was the benefactor of some big name signings at the club. He was, of course, he had Caicedo come in, Lavia, Cole Palmer. I mean, can you really grant him Lavia as like a bonus? Not really, because he's Schrodinger's footballer and all that. They were added quality to what was already there, of course. Fernandes and Cucurella, both crucial players now. But that is now. They'd already been bought in at this point. Now, it's easy to forget that there was a time with Cucurella, the Spaniard was seen as surplus to requirements, and he was very close. It makes me feel sick now, but he was very close to leaving Manchester United on loan. We all remember that. I would have done videos on it, like multiple. And we were sort of like, there was banter online. Yeah, oh yeah, take him. He was a much maligned figure at Stamford Bridge because he cost a lot of money. He was sold to us when we had Graham Potter. Oh, was it even just before Potter? I have a feeling it was just before Potter arrived, possibly. And then Tuchel maybe? I can't remember exactly. But he was sort of billed to us as this versatile defender that can play left of a back three, left back, and left wing back. I'd argue now we've seen him do amazing world-class performances at left back, not at left wing back or left centre back, which of course we saw. Okay, was it West? No, what game was it? Napoli. Anyway, when we did the fullbacks at centre back, it didn't work. So really, he's a left back. We've since learned that now, but he was billed as this super versatile player. Pochettino's spoken about this on his high performance podcast appearance. That of course he's since become the best fullback in England, which I don't think many Chelsea fans would disagree. He said this, Pochettino: "We create an environment that the player like Malo Gusto, because Gusto was good under Poch. He never scored, but he got assists and he was good. That was really young and came in not to play from Lyon to finish playing at his best. Okay, Cucurella didn't play from the beginning, and the club wanted to sell him. So there's your headline." Chelsea wanted to sell him, which causes like a visceral reflex reaction now. Like, ugh! But you have to cast your mind back. His success arc, his story arc, is such a great success story. And we learned, of course, he had like troubles at home. And of course, also his house was robbed. It was all, we didn't know about this. We weren't privy to it. And he was struggling a little bit. And of course, Chelsea as a club was chaotic. And, the dressing room was all over the gaff. And it was tough. But if we sold Cucurella back then, or if he did get that loan to Man United, there will not have been many Chelsea fans that would have been like against it, which is crazy to think now. So he says the club wanted to sell Marc Cucurella, but now he's become the best fullback in the Premier League. He goes on to speak about Gallagher, Fernandes, Palmer, Madueke, Jackson, plenty of players. They grew through all of this. The article here both speaks about how Cucurella has made himself undroppable. Yeah, I mean, he's gone from strength to strength. Even in just recent times, he's won the European Championships with Spain. And yes, it hurts as an Englishman. But, he's an incredible key player for them. Of course, he's won the Club World Cup, the Conference League with Chelsea under Maresca last season. He's played him, even if he's a left back, and I don't want to see him in a different starting position. He can have different roles as a left back, whether he's keeping width, crashing the left pocket, because we saw him score a lot of goals under Enzo Maresca last season. Of course, he's just recently scored this season, but last season he knocked in a few running, crashing into that sort of half space on the left and scoring some important goals. But the goal he scored the other day was really brave. He's become such an important player. He seems happy now. He seems like... I know it's because of the hair, but he seems a bit like David Luiz, like happy-go-lucky guy that makes everyone laugh and is good vibes. And, you know, it's such a feel-good story, Marc Cucurella. The fact how he went from us wanting to actively sell him to just even loaning him to Man United to just him being so good now and such a key player. And hopefully for him, just really happy, which I hope that's the case. All right then, TeamTalk.com, Graham Bailey has spoken about more on Julian Alvarez to potentially to Chelsea. Now, before I read this, I am going to take this with a pinch of salt because even though I do genuinely believe Chelsea will invest money, and big money on certain players, we haven't done it in a little while. I think 60 million for Joao Pedro is the most recently, but of course we've broken the transfer record under these sporting directors twice, or certainly under this ownership. And I think maybe they will keep buying these really cheap young kids, but they will, I think, every now and again, put their hands in their pockets for a player that they believe is worthy of that. I mean, they did try and do it with Osimhen. Remember the deadline day into the night negotiations, they just couldn't get over the line. John Obi Mikel said, you know, it wasn't a briefing. They were genuinely about to find a way to try and sign Osimhen, but he just wanted insane money. Chelsea were prepared to pay high money for him and structure it so he earns a lot, but they couldn't do it in the end. So maybe Alvarez would get an agreeable salary at Chelsea. It's just convincing him to come. Right, so let's read. Graham Bailey writes the following. Arsenal and Chelsea have maintained a steady line of communication over Julian Alvarez since Team Talk revealed their interest from last month. And both clubs have received positive talks, or reports, should I say, as they consider a blockbuster summer move. They can reveal both London clubs have actively discussed numbers and the structure of a potential deal. Insiders say the overall fee being discussed is below 100 million. Good. I mean, they did spend like 80 odd million on him, didn't they? So, yeah. They're not going to... And he's been good over there. He's been good. But perhaps lower than expected. Perhaps lower than expected given his world-class stature. I mean... I guess so. But Alvarez, who is 26 now, he's only just turned 26. So he's you know, over the hill as far as Chelsea sporting directors go. Maybe they could just see it in their hearts to give him a few months grace. That he's the 25. But he's just literally turned 26, I think, last month, the end of last month. Something recently. So the player has grown increasingly frustrated with life at Atletico Madrid in recent months and is prompting his representatives to explore alternatives. So yeah, he's done really well for them, but Simeone ball's probably grinding him down, one would assume. Barcelona have held talks, and the current sporting director, Deco, who's screwed us over a bunch of times. Didn't he screw us when we tried to sign Messi years ago? Like Messi in 2012 agreed to join Chelsea. There's a story out there. I've even done a video on it. Yeah, and I know we've got a history of Deco, of course. He's a big admirer of the forward and has made it clear to the suitors that the Camp Nou is his first choice. That preference, however, comes with a caveat. Barcelona's transfer business is largely on hold with the presidential elections. Also, Barcelona has been a disaster for signing players, especially high-profile players in recent years. Players wait to choose whether to sign for Barcelona because they genuinely don't know if they'll get registered for the league, if they will get paid. Because they're in such financial disarray, it's genuinely a big risk to be signing for Barcelona, especially as a player that would command a significant wage salary. So you got to, players and agents will be like, do you want to do that? Despite Barcelona being the preferred destination, Alvarez representatives have been transparent with the other parties, which include, unsurprisingly, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Paris Saint-Germain. But don't they play Ousmane Dembele as a false nine? Why would they want to change that? I mean, they do also have, Gonzalo Ramos. With uncertainty in Catalonia, the player is open to returning to England, as we exclusively reveal in January. Arsenal and Chelsea have both held talks with the camp. Crucially, if coming back to the Premier League, he would only consider a move to London at this stage. And you know what? We've got different Argentine players as well. Enzo Fernandez, it's time. Get on the phone, speak to Julian, and convince him. Say Arsenal are allergic to winning trophies, even if they blag one this season. Come to the Chelsea. We are world champions. I mean, Fernandez will be like, look, Julian, you and I are world champions internationally. I'm also a world champion on club level. You can be that. Come join me, amigo. So yeah, Chelsea and Arsenal have both been doing due diligence on Alvarez, and reports of the former Man City man condition and form have been positive. Yeah, I mean, he's been great. It's been great. Like, I can read on. Basically, yeah, he wants to come to London. Ooh. Well, he wants to go to Barcelona, but they're broke-alona. So if not, he wants to come to London. Let me know what you think, though. Please do comment down below. It's probably unrealistic, but would you want him? Of course, we've got Omega, Joao Pedro, everyone's favourite striker, Delap. Do leave your comments down in the comment section. Thank you, as always, for your continued support to my content, for liking and subscribing on YouTube, for following and 5-starring on Spotify. Simply search Football Therapy Podcast on the Spotify. The video's there too. Thanks, guys. I'll see you very soon. Take care. Peace.